Discovery Channel. Welcome to the Discovery Channel. We want to take you to places you've never seen. We want to show you ideas and innovations that will change your world. From your own backyard to an astronaut's view of the Earth, the Discovery Channel takes you inside your dreams and on to the outback. We want to tell you stories of adventure, of risk, and exhilaration. Whether you're in the passing lane on the Infobahn or inspecting the latest in kitchen appliances, every day, every night, the Discovery Channel explores your world. Welcome to the Discovery Channel, and call us if you want to know more. 1-800-370-2332. Call for your local schedule for program information, to hear our latest news and more. There you are, the Discovery Channel.
Welcome to the Discovery Channel. My name is Trina McQueen, and this program is not only about a new television network, but it's also about passion. A passion that we as Canadians share with millions around the world. It's the passion to know how and why and what next. It's the delight of curiosity and the intense satisfaction of understanding, the emotions of natural beauty, and the fun and wonder of all creatures, great and small. It's also about a passion for Canada and for imagining our country in a different way, of seeing the richness of new ideas and of meeting the great people who work here today as the explorers of our past and the inventors of our future. And you'll begin to know them now in this program that we call Discover.
Two reasons why I think knowing nature is important. One is that it's just so fulfilling for anyone who I've ever known who is interested in nature and a naturalist. You know, I think it just gives them more joy in life, is the one reason. The other reason, I think we should be obliged as biological creatures ourselves to understand our kith and kin, the trees and the birds and the frogs and insects and all that around us, and to be familiar with them as we would with friends and neighbors.
Okay, well, what I'm wearing really is a parabolic microphone mounted onto a helmet. But I use this because it's the best method to record small birds when they're half hidden up in these small branches of the tree. And as they move from branch to branch, as I follow them with my eyes, the microphone follows them.
But they're not mimics or comics. Their round bodies, small feet, flippers, and heads are all heat-saving adaptations.
No, I'm not a misanthrope. People sometimes say, you know, accuse me of this, but I'm not. Some of my best friends are human beings. One of our problems is, and one of the basic problems is, that we have this fantastic delusion of superiority. It's carried to a degree where we feel that everything that exists on Earth, and it's not just animate, inanimate too, exists for our purposes. The greatest solace for a human being on this planet is to recognize his affinity, his unity, her, theirs, its, with the other forms of life. Then it all becomes a little more bearable. It's like being a member of an enormous extended family. You feel much more certain about your own existence.
I'm a bird artist, a naturalist, environmentalist, conservationist. My particular interest is birds. When I see a bird, a snake, a frog, a tree, a flower, what I am looking at is the current point in a long history, a 3 billion year history of evolution. It is the forces of life and the forces of the cosmos working in unison, working together to form these things.
Hi, I'm John Foster, and this is my wife, Janet. We share a sense of wonder, and for the past 25 years or so, we've been very lucky to be able to work together as a two-person team, traveling across Canada, making natural science films for public television.
And what has made our job so exciting and so rewarding is the very nature of Canada. Just think about it. We're a country that is bordered by 3 oceans. We have a temperate coastal rainforest, rolling prairie grasslands, a boreal forest, Arctic tundra. And within all these ecosystems and habitats, there is a stunning array of wildlife.
We also have a kind of personal joy out of all this. Just being in wilderness country with a camera in your hands it just gives you an incredible feeling if you love wildlife and wilderness the way we do. And we always have this expectation of perhaps seeing some wildlife phenomenon, or watching a prairie thunderstorm, or paddling along the North Shore of Lake Superior, just watching the rocks go by. And was it last summer?
Another example, last summer we rode in the Maritimes, filming migrating shorebirds coming down from the high Arctic and on their way to South America. Can you imagine one flock of birds, 150,000 in one flock? That is a spectacle.
There are thousands upon thousands of individual tiles on the space shuttle. We inspect every one of those. The tires, the main gear, come off. The brakes have come off and are refurbished and re-inspected, reinstalled.
Every landing when a bird comes in, we check for meteor strikes, scratches that may occur. The end of your hair, if you looked at it, that's the size that we look for on the window. And you have to locate every one. We inspect it, and then the technicians come in and clean it behind us so the astronauts can see for the next mission.
Well, I'm a neurologist, and since my flight, I've been working out of Ryerson Polytechnic University and also now visiting professor at the University of Western Ontario. I'm pursuing my space research with NASA. My research focuses on adaptation of human beings to spaceflight. Specifically, I'm looking at how blood flow in the brain is regulated and how it changes both in spaceflight and down here in certain disease states. For me, science provides answers. I'm a very logical person. I don't really want to have fear in my life. Certainly when you're an astronaut in training, the last thing you want is to have fear. You're a professional and you want to be trained. You don't want to be out of control. So to me, science provides that. It provides a nice security blanket for me. It provides answers. It provides a way of trying to find answers, and that's what I find very intriguing about it.
I do bench science, I actually do experiments, I communicate science, and I'm an executive director of a science center. I think science means to me an understanding of the basic tenets of nature. I mean, it all gets back to how do we understand what's around us, how do we comprehend it, and then how do we use what we understand to better ourselves, our lives, and the lives of other people. So in saying that, then science leads to discovery, and discovery then leads to hopefully new developments, and there's a continual trend.
I'm a physicist. My field has been solid-state physics, particularly metallic materials and crystal structures. There's a streak in science that speaks about conquering of nature, going out and doing things where nature yields her secrets, and it's always her, and there's always conquering and persistence, and then she yields. And I'm quite sure that I'm not alone among those who have quite a different approach to nature, to science, to doing experiments, because for me, these are conversations. There are ways, even if I have inanimate objects like crystals, they aren't dead things for me, and they are my friends, and I talk to them. And when I do an experiment and get a silly result, I don't kick the crystal, I kick myself for asking a silly question. And on the other hand, when I get an insightful result, I say thank you in my mind, because I have received from my samples a really nice piece of information. They have told me something that I didn't know before.
7/8 of this museum, the domain of the scientist, is never seen by the public.
What's important is the 60 to 80 million scientific specimens that we store here. These specimens are from all around the world. They're absolutely vital for modern biology because they bring order to biology, just like the periodic table of elements brought order to chemistry.
This classification is critical to science. The originals of millions of species are held here and used by scientists around the world to check the identities of creatures they're working with.
I'm Dr. Joe Mcginniss, a physician who has spent 30 years exploring under the ocean. For me, science is a way of thinking about how the world works. It's also a search for solutions, from the origins of subatomic particles to the future of the universe. I was very lucky. At an early age, I fell in love with two things, I think the most important things on this planet: human beings and the ocean. And when I'm exploring under the Great Lakes or in the deep ocean, science for me is a dramatic window of discovery where what unfolds is the highlights of biology, geology, and the historical treasures. Because science is always ongoing, a voyage of discovery, a kind of mind odyssey, it is always an adventure, and at its very best, a celebration of the human endeavor.
No one has ever fully navigated these waters. The last person to tackle them died trying. It's only fitting that this legendary river should attract a unique breed of adventurer. People who make the impossible look easy.
I'm Rick Green. I write and host television programs, and my mission in life is to get people thinking. We are living in a science fiction era. There are people walking around with bionic parts in them, plastic hip joints and so on. There are people who hear and see because of technology. There are people who have plates in their head, who've had their brains operated on, who have baboon hearts. This is a science fiction age, and it's not going to go away. We have to learn how to cope with that.
I teach mechanical engineering at McGill University. I also do some inventing on the side, and I also do things that other people might call creative. I hope you don't mind seeing a professor's office that hasn't had much attention in 23 years, because there's a lot of unsorted junk in here. It's something I'm not terribly proud of, but after all, this is where I work and live, and this is home for me. I've got all of the books and paraphernalia, plus all of the reports and papers that I never file, piled up on the bookcases. And I always operate two computers. I've got an old Commodore 64 here, which I program sometimes. I wrote that little program. You know, one thing I'd like to encourage the young people to do today is to become curious about everything. Read a lot, find out a lot, learn how things work, because my golly, that's where it lies. That's where all the truth lies in this universe. You should know about how that sound is recorded on your compact disc, why the compact disc doesn't run at one speed like a 33 1/3 RPM record. Its speed changes, so your sound can be pure throughout the whole compact disc. Why is that? How does that work?
I'm the director of École Polytechnique. It's the largest engineering school in Canada. My background is really mechanical engineering. I still run a lab. I like technology because I like to see things work nicely. What's nicer than listening to something running smoothly? You know, a car that doesn't make noise. That's beautiful if you think about it. Or a good sound system. That's nice technology for you. A CD player is nice technology. We've improved things so much that you're really making, if you think about it, you're making things go smoother through technology.
I'm President and Chief Executive Officer of Northern Telecom, a company of about 60,000 employees operating in 90 countries in the world in information technologies. The challenge and the pleasure of working at Northern and having the function that I have at Northern is probably feeling part of this whole evolution towards globalization and the information society. These two are, to me, the two basic trends that will permit us to grow as a society, to grow as individuals.
My name's Bill Buxton, and I started my life as a musician. And one of the things I discovered really early on was how powerful computers and other technologies could be to enhance my musical expression and my ideas. This is something I built on, but the other thing I discovered was how difficult it was to do with the technologies that were available at the time. So that led me to become some kind of designer, or inventor, if you will, frustration being the mother of invention. And so I've worked really hard trying to discover other ways to interact with computers. The problems persist today, and where it leaves me right now is basically as a skeptimist. On the one hand, I'm really optimistic about what might be. I'm very skeptical as to how we get there. That's the challenge, and that's what I hope to discover next.
Severn Cullis-Suzuki. I'm concerned about the environment from the viewpoint of a youth, or from children's point of view, because I feel that the actions that adults are taking today are going to affect my future, and I've noticed that this has gone forgotten in a lot of decisions that are made every day. And for the past few years, that's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to remind adults, and parents especially, that the actions they take will affect me and my future.
I'm Toby Stiles, Executive Director of Support Services for the Metropolitan Toronto Zoo, and I'm the spokesperson for the 5,000 animals that live there. They estimate there's, I don't know, 100,000 species of plants in the world, and we've described 25,000 of them. We've studied 10,000 in very round figures, and from the 10,000, of course, 60% of all the drugs we use came. So we don't even begin to know what's really out there. And unfortunately, in many cases, we're losing it before we had a chance to even figure out what it was. You know, we never had a chance to say goodbye because we never got to say hello, so it was gone.
I've been a science fiction person professionally for about 50 years now. I think that...
Bored stiff, and hey, where's something interesting that's going on, and we don't try to mate with her, we don't bother her. So basically, she comes over and looks us over. And you can see her eye. It's right in underneath that large white patch, which is right down there.
I do some combination of mathematics, computer science, and understanding learning. I think the pursuit of knowledge is important because it's the one thing that really stops you from being bored with life. It's the thing that keeps life changing every day of your life, so that there's always another question, another way to look at it, another thing you could understand, something to create that's different, that's important. I think one of the worst things in life is just to be bored. Things don't change. Nothing to look forward to. It's never like that when you're trying to understand things.
We do brain research in our laboratory, particularly Alzheimer's disease. Well, discovery is asking a question of nature and getting an intelligent reply. If you ask the wrong question, if nature hasn't heard of it, you'll get no reply. But each experiment asks a question. And when the reply comes back saying, hey, that idea was right, that's exciting and it's satisfying.
It's a passionate occupation. It's obsessive to be a scientist. Making discoveries, which we do all too seldom, on the whole is a gradual process. It's like walking in the hills, the peak of the hill is always there just ahead of you, and you take another deep breath and stagger up further, and the view gets better all the time, and it's very rewarding, but a moment when you say, I have made a discovery is very rare, and usually incorrect, you haven't.
Now, my daughter made this needlepoint sampler and gave it to me about 10 years ago. I think that's wonderful. I often take it off the wall and take it into my first design class meeting and say, don't start vast projects with half-vast ideas. I think that's a great motto. Discovery is uncovering a natural physical phenomenon or fact. And if you watch the heavens long enough, you can discover some new floating asteroid bodies or something of the sort. That it's not inventing them, you just discover them. They're out there already. And the same with truths in the universe. When you become cognizant of the truth, you have discovered it. You have not invented it, because the truth lay there all the time.
There you are, the Discovery Channel.